We're here today to share a short video with you in reference to an incident in which we had a close call here in the City of Virginia Beach Fire Department. In this particular case, we had an opportunity to make 2 live saves at a residential house fire with elderly occupants. Unfortunately, we're not able to pull that rescue off, but we did come very close to losing 2 of our own. And in these particular instances, our firefighters as a whole will rely on every single piece of training and experience they have to mitigate these situations. And I can assure you, as a fire chief, the things that keep us awake at night, certainly the primary thing that keeps us awake at night is the potential loss of one of our firefighters. So I would encourage you to learn from this video, use it as you prepare for your operations, and just as we adapt on a daily basis to changing conditions on a fire ground to be as effective as we possibly can be, I would encourage you and us as a fire service to look at how we fight fires across our service and think about utilizing modern science and technology to help us fight fires smarter. Thank you.
Battalion 3, Engine 18, Engine 23, Engine 9, Ladder 9, 5 Squad 10, TAC 5 assigned for a residential fire, 1340 Thamesford Drive, Roosevelt Forest South. Map page is Delta 10-4, TAC 5 assigned at 1802. Another call says 2 more people inside the residence. Someone jumped out of the window, complaining advised whole house is on fire. Battalion 3, further update, 68-year-old, 88-year-old female still in the house. No one can get them out. 1803. Dispatched to Battalion 3, further update. 3 subjects in the house. The entire house is on fire. Unknown how the fire started. Females are upstairs hiding in the bedroom.
When this call first came in, I had actually just sat down to dinner at my house. You could tell by the dispatcher that this wasn't going to be a normal call. She had had many calls, victims trapped, just the terms she was using. We knew from experience that this was going to be something to it.
Engine 23.
23.
Engine 9.
Engine 9.
Ladder 9.
Ladder 9.
Squad 10.
Squad 10.
All right, Engine 18.
Engine 18, sir.
All right, Battalion 3 copies all units. All right, Battalion 3 is coming out of 18's area. You copy updates. We got reports of occupants trapped.
18 copies. Engine 18 to Battalion 3.
Go ahead.
All right. On the scene, 2-story, single family. Heavy fire showing, Delta side. I'll go ahead and take up command for now. We're going to go interior, engine 3/4 line.
On arrival, we had conditions, heavy smoke conditions. I noticed a heavy fire Delta side from the get-go. Began my walk around on the Delta side and noticed a good amount of fire, heavy fire, on the Charlie Delta corner. There was a bay window adjacent to a chimney chase and had heavy fire exposing up to the roof line. We were told that there were 2 people trapped. We weren't told exactly where at that point. There were police officers on scene and they said they think they're on the 2nd floor, but we did not have an exact location. So at that point, I decided to go more of a traditional method and go into the Alpha side, front door obviously, and go in and protect the stairwell while the ladder or the rescue went in and to do the search upstairs.
23 is on scene. I'll go ahead and take command. We got water supply. We're going to lay out from you.
At that time, I went ahead and took command from Engine 18. He'd already clearly stated that he was going to make an interior attack from the Alpha side. Came off of the truck around the rear, went to the AD corner of the front yard so I could kind of see what was going on. At that time, my jump seat guy went and did a walk around to the back side, to the Charlie side, to see what the conditions were, which really helped me a lot because I could not see what was completely going on that Charlie side.
Squad 10's on scene.
Command copy, Squad 10's on scene.
Go to the front yard. 18 is just starting to get ready to stretch in the front door. Our role, search and rescue. We're going to go in behind 18, help them try to get up the stairs for what we were told they were occupants trapped.
There was 2 officers standing in the front yard of the Delta exposure. Asked them if they knew if everyone was out of the structure. At that time they said that they had confirmed that there was 2 people in the Delta room on the 2nd floor unaccounted for. So that's when I made the decision that I was going to try and do a VES.
Command all units, be advised to report 2 elderly people, 2nd floor, D side of the structure.
As we started to mask up, Captain Phillips, who was running Engine 23 at that time, he had taken command. He came to us and said that there was an opportunity to vent inner search Delta side 2nd floor. About that time that he's telling us this, Master Firefighter Kenny Harris is coming across the front yard with a straight ladder. So good timing, Ken is throw that ladder on the Delta side 2nd floor. We work our way around there, the ladder gets thrown very quickly. Both Master Firefighter Stone and myself start getting our face pieces on, getting dressed to go to work.
On Side Charlie, our crew's specific actions were that we started to knock down the exterior fire as much as we could, as quickly as we could, and then we focused more on the roof line and the 2nd floor fire. We avoided putting any water inside the 1st floor because we knew Engine 18 was going to be inside on the 1st floor somewhere. We just weren't sure where.
All right, Battalion 3 on units, Battalion 3's on scene. Battalion 3 is assuming Thamesford command.
When I arrived on scene, Captain Phillips immediately came to me and provided me with a very clear, concise pass down of what all the crews were doing on scene. We also had an additional crew on scene prepared to receive a victim from the VEIS operation. So in my estimation, I felt like things were progressing as expected and that we were set up very well for success on this fire. Within the next 30 seconds to a minute, some radio transmissions would begin to indicate that things were not progressing as expected.
Engine 18 to command.
Go ahead, 18.
Having heat conditions. Having trouble making inside.
And then we proceeded to enter for the 2nd time. Made it in further, still heavy heat conditions, not tenable.
Engine 18 to command.
Go ahead, 18.
Stone Cavalry, heavy fire on 1st floor.
All right, command copies. You got heavy fire on floor 1. Command 2, Engine 23.
23, we're on the C side. Looks like we got the majority of the fire for the 2nd floor knocked down.
Okay, can you get a 2nd line in on floor 1?
10-4, 23 crew will take care of that.
Command 2, Squad 10.
Yep, sir. I'm on the B side, attempting to bend inner search 2nd floor.
The top of the window had failed and there was smoke pushing. It was charged, dark smoke. So he cleans out the window, conditions don't look too bad.
That's when I went up first, took out the rest of the window. The window was partially taken already. There is some smoke and heat as I was going up the ladder. Got to the window, took out what was remaining. I sounded the floor and started to go in, and that's when I noticed an intense burning sensation where my mask and hood kind of meet. So I backed out immediately, went down the ladder.
When he comes down, I go up. When I made to the window after Stone had cleaned the window out, the conditions had changed. There was light smoke coming out of the window. It wasn't as charged, it wasn't pushing, which tells me, or indicates to me, that somewhere either water is being put on the fire or a vent had been opened up somewhere else to take some of that smoke and the heat away from us. I sweep, I sound, I roll in. I get into the room, heat, but not untenable. What do you compare it to? Compare it to just a hot fire. You know, a hot fire, you can start to feel a little bit of heat through the gear, but it's tenable and workable. So that's the conditions we had met. So I'm in a room and I start to do a tick-led search. Tick whites out. So I start doing a hand search. It wasn't long, I find a victim in the room.
He showed me where the lady was. There wasn't a whole lot of visibility, so I grabbed her, picked her up off the bed, brought her over to the window.
Squad 10 to command.
Go ahead, Squad 10.
Run victim, second floor, been in a search. We're bringing her out to B side.
As we get her out, fire is starting to push through that knee wall. You can definitely tell that. I turned to go back into the room. Lots of reasons for this. One, we had a report of 2 victims in the room. I had left behind on the bed a thermal imager and a light and a hand tool. So I was pretty much naked right now without having all my stuff with me. So I'm going back to retrieve my stuff and try to finish a search of the room so we can locate the second victim that's in the room. As I start to head towards the bed where the lady was, Master Firefighter Stone hits me on my BA. He said, I gotta go, it's getting hot.
Like I said before, the first notable change that I noticed in the room was when we were removing the victim from the window. That's when I could tell the Charlie side of the room was getting a lot hotter. That's when I said I could feel it on my back. And I had to keep moving around so it wouldn't, burn too bad. But other than that, just kind of the heat taking over was the main thing, and it happened very quickly. Because I felt fine as soon as I left the position that I was standing in at the window. I felt fine again. Felt just like a normal fire. And then it couldn't have been a minute or two after that is when it got extremely hot and unbearable. When I tapped Captain Riglow and I knew it was time to go out, I guess that was just the years of training, working for other great captains. I know Captain Riglow has been around a long time. He's a great, well-respected captain. I've also worked for a few other captains that have just taught me, you know when it's time to go. And I've been lucky enough, fortunate enough to be at some busy companies, and I've seen some really good fires. I've been in some really good fires. So it's just kind of, I guess it was a culmination of all my training and experience that told me that this is a situation that we need to get out of. We need to get out of it in a hurry.
In my quick processing of information, Tom's a pretty good sized guy, a lot bigger than I am. He was also up standing higher in the room than I was, so he's taking a lot more heat, got more surface area, he's taking a lot more heat than I am. So I'm, get out. I proceed a little bit deeper in the room. As I get deeper in the room, conditions are changing for me. I start to feel the heat, but it wasn't too bad yet, but I could feel the heat. I got just about to the bed and I decided it's time for me to leave. As I am turning to head back towards the window, the room flashed over. What is locked in memory, and I will take this to the grave, I suspect, is all I can see around me is orange. Everywhere I look, up, down, hot, everywhere I looked, left, right, up, down, doesn't matter, there is orange all around me. And I'm feeling pain. Not intense pain, not like, man, I'm dying right now pain, but I feel pain. I can feel the heat coming through my gear. I gotta go, I gotta do something. For a moment, I paused and I had a conscious wrestle with my decision-making process in here. What do I do? There was a part of me told me to go deeper into that bedroom. Go back to that bed, which is right behind me, go to that bed and hide behind that bed. Another part of me said, no, go out the window. So I was having this fight, flight, go where I know to go, debate with myself. Now it seemed like it lasted minutes. I imagined it only took seconds for this to occur. But for some reason, I had to overcome or fight the desire to go deeper in the room. I think, again, fight or flight, I knew where the bed was. I wasn't 100% sure where the window was. I knew, kinda, situational awareness, but I didn't have 100% lock on it, and I couldn't see it because there was fire. I chose to go to the window, move that way. I don't recall how many steps I took, if I jumped, dove, I don't recall. I do recall, as locked in, again, things that you just locked in memory, I recall finding the window, planting my right hand, and doing a window bail.
23 to command.
Go ahead, 23.
We're still outside. We have 2 firefighters. Probably need evaluation. The guy that went back to search.
Two additional interior attacks were made in an attempt to access the fourth victim on the second floor. Both of those were unsuccessful. Interior operations at Thamesford would continue for approximately 10 more minutes, at which point all crews were withdrawn from the structure due to structural instability. Our total time on scene from arrival to fire out was approximately 26 minutes. The Thamesford fire resulted in 2 civilian fatalities. 2 firefighters being treated and released that evening for first and second degree burns on various parts of their body, and 2 additional firefighters would be evaluated the next morning for blistering to their ears and face. Following the tragic loss of civilian life at the Thamesford fire and the close call experienced by members of the VBFD, the organization performed an exhaustive internal investigation to determine lessons learned, both for our use and for that of the fire service as a whole.
Early on in my career, I was a firefighter on a scene where 2 firefighters died in another city. We were doing mutual aid. In my career, that has made a profound effect on how I feel about firefighter safety and risk a lot to save a lot. In this instance, I felt like we were on the edge. This was something where we were risking a lot to save a lot, but we had reports, strong reports, people standing outside telling us there were 2 victims inside that room over the garage. We had officers telling us they were in that room. Was I concerned that the captain and the firefighter were inside a room with fire behind them and possibly below them? Yes, I was. Do I think they went to the edge? Yes, I do. Do I think we did something that was happenstance? No, I don't. I really feel like we did what we were expected to do, and that is risk a lot to save a lot, go for the life save when we have the chance. We know this is a dangerous profession at times, and this is one of them. This was a very unique fire. We had fire from 3 sides of the structure at one point. Very unusual in a 2-story, 2,000 square foot house. Is this something that we roll up on every day? No, definitely not. Thamesford was a very unique fire. We're hard on ourselves when we do something wrong. The officer corps on this fire and the firefighters that were with them are solid. They work towards being the best they can be. I do believe that. I think some of the strongest points you can have from this fire pointed out are Master Firefighter Stone is very clear that he's been around the block. He's been in some significant fires. He's been at some very busy stations for us. So when he tells you it's time to go, you need to listen. And I'm very proud of him in saying the fact that, hey, we need to go. Captain Rigelow states very clearly that he wasn't in the same position as Master Firefighter Stone, so he didn't quite have the same heat profile that Tom did, and I can appreciate that. But my hat is off to him for saying, hey, it's time to go, Captain, and making that happen.
I guess lessons learned, or some thoughts to ponder for future, and we've had several fires since then, is don't be afraid to do a transitional attack. And a lot of people think that sometimes a transitional attack is going from offensive to defensive, when in fact, no, it's just a change in tactics. And it's okay to hit the fire from the outside, knock it down, and then move inside.
Had we known engine 18 was not making any progress from the A side of the structure, we could have done a more transitional attack from the C side of the structure and put water directly in on the first floor.
UL and NIST have clearly identified that any water on the seat of the fire from any direction will improve conditions. The Thamesford fire is a classic example of the need for a transitional attack. Water applied from the exterior of the structure while operating in an offensive mode.
Another lesson learned, as I talked about, was to make sure you concentrate your resources on that VES. That should be your #1 priority. If you're sending crews into an area without a hose line, above a fire, you need to support them as much as you can. Water on the fire below them, water on the fire on the Charlie side, close to that Delta side, trying to get as much fire knocked down. Take the heat away, take the fire away, make that a little bit more tenable for the crews inside.
VEIS. The fire service as a whole, I think, may not have emphasized the isolate piece as much as we should have. 2 separate VES operations in Virginia Beach, Both times we were unable to isolate the room. The moment we begin our VES operation and we're unable to isolate ourselves, we must recognize the potential for the fire to come to us. And that a countdown, a stopwatch has started, and we don't know how much time is on that counter.
The lessons learned that I would take from this is clearly stating what your objectives are to the rest of the crews. Even if you do a face-to-face, the crew performing it knows it, but other units on scene don't know what's going on, and other units en route might not necessarily know what's going on. Battalion 3 wasn't aware of the VES until he arrived on scene, and I did a face-to-face with them.
I think the Thamesford fire is an excellent example of operating in a high-risk environment with little to no margin for error. Excellent execution of basic skills allowed us to operate in a high-risk environment and to bring our people back out of it with minor injuries only.
I think as being the Deputy Chief of Operations, that my very paramount to me is that everybody goes home. I do understand with this fire like this, that Thamesford could have been one that everybody didn't go home, or at the very least, 2 of our firefighters could have been severely injured. I don't take that lightly, and I hope that from this production that everybody sees that the Virginia Beach Fire Department is trying to help us with lessons learned on a very close call for us.